Okay, perfect. With over 20 years of experience in software development, Bartosz focuses on helping organizations adapt low-code technologies to accelerate their digital transformation. Drawing on deep technical experience, he supports teams and communities through knowledge sharing, hands-on training, and practical guidance on building scalable enterprise applications. Bartosz didn't send us his fun fact picture, so let me just tell you that he likes fishing and playing the violin, but unfortunately he can't do both things at the same time. Bartosz, the stage is yours. Huge applause.
Thank you very much. Hey, but Kinga, we've spoken before, right? So I told her that, well, I haven't sent the pictures because when I go fishing, I go alone. And I don't take pictures because I'm not the kind of guy that takes selfies, although the ones who follow me on LinkedIn probably say, no, you are taking selfies. But fishing is something that I do just, in my leisure. And taking selfies, it's just, something else. But we are here, right? At the Code Dive conference for hardcore C++ developers. That's what I was told. So why am I here? Why am I talking about low-code today? Well, I want to tell you that low-code is something that I find genius. Right? I've been a C++ developer for a number of years. My almost entire study, I use C++ for delivering my projects. So I do know a little bit about C++. I know that majority of you, well, all of you, know much more. But I want to tell you about something else today, about low-code. So Rafał had a perfect presentation about no-code and how to create agentic applications. Well, with low-code you can do the same, but differently. To go through the agenda very fast, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myths. Then we'll jump to reality, what low-code really is. I'll tell you about the modern toolkit for developers. Then I'll tell you about a little bit about the mind shift that you need to have while working with low-code. And we'll draft a little bit the future of low-code, what it will be in a couple of years, maybe even next year. So stereotypes. We've probably all heard low-code is not for real developers, it's for business analysts. Anyone heard that term or have similar opinion? What about this one? It's a drag and drop magic. Rafał used that word. Now here is where the magic happens. Where you've heard that before during his presentation? Yes, 1, 2, thanks. So you were paying attention. Real developers don't use low-code. Yes, thank you. But hey, somebody has to written that platform, right? Not low-code, not AI. It was written by regular developers. C++, C#, Java, you name it. So let's test those assumptions and let's try to kill some myths. But why it matters? Well, has anyone ever followed the Gartner reports? All right, the Gartner report, especially the Magic Quadrant, it gives you an insight on enterprise low-code platforms, and it's like a recursive report. Every year they release it, and they claim that 80% of enterprise will implement Agentic AI. So something about something that Rafał was already mentioning in his in the previous talk, via low-code. So low-code will be the platform or the technology behind the new Agentic AI applications. And why? We'll figure it out in a minute. Low-code is not only for, let's say, the easy-peasy applications. Low-code platforms literally allow you to create enterprise-grade applications. But we'll also come down to this in a minute. AI-augmented development, so AI-assisted development or AI-augmented application, that's already there. And it's really speeding up the delivery of the application systems that you work on. And ignoring it might cost us a lot of, well, maybe not time, not money, but it might cost us also reputation. So if you don't at least know what low-code is, if you haven't tested one platform, that you're probably, you might be losing a lot. So myths and misconceptions. IT hides the real code. Myth number 1. Anybody believes that it's true or false? You probably heard it before, right? Maybe not this year, maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago. So it's not that the code is gone, right? It's just not presented to the developers that are producing the applications. So with every graphical component that you create, that you put on Canvas, for example, that the process that you build with your business flow, behind every such block there is code. There is a piece of code, but the code is not written by you. It's written by other developers. So you might be working on a local platform in the development, developing the local platform, and it's up to you guys to create such high-performing, good quality platforms and components that are tested and they are reusable and working. And that components are given to the developers that work with local platforms. So the code never disappears, right? It's always there, but it's sort of abstracted. You can always open such piece of functionality. You can inspect, and you can even extend it to your own need, or write your own, right? So it's still there, because the code never disappears. It's all there. You just need to open it and extend it, shall you ever need it. But in order to maximize the return on investment, probably you don't want to do it, because the speed really matters when you create enterprise-grade applications. You're still in control of your versioning, right? You can implement almost any branching strategy with modern low-code platforms. Why? Well, we'll come that also to in the following slides. So an abstraction doesn't mean that you're losing control of your development, because the components that were developed previously, those are abstracted, but if there is a need, you can always go down and just verify the details, adjust something, or create your own components. Myth number 2, it can't scale or perform. I've had this a lot, right? And it was always a challenge. Well, it's not performant. It can't be performing good. It won't scale. Well, but the reality is that the modern low-code platforms, they run, for example, on same cloud infrastructure that you're used to, right? So they run on Azure, they run on AWS, they run on GCP, Alibaba Cloud, you name it. Private cloud, OpenShift, Kubernetes, Cloud Foundry, right? They all use that. The local platform, they use that functionality, or they use that technology. So with that, you know that it's very simple to scale it, right? Horizontal scaling is something that it's there, right? It's there embedded by default. If you want to add another node in your cluster, you just press play and it just will create another node. This is how you extend the cluster with low-code applications. And also CI/CD pipelines. This is also something that DevOps are familiar with, and it's also there in low-code platforms. So you create an application in IDE, but you need to then build it somehow. And this is where CI/CD pipelines come into place. They are all still there, but again, some of them are abstracted. You don't necessarily go down to the YAML files, you don't modify them, but you have an abstraction layer on top where you just set some parameters, and then you press play, and the applications are built and deployed. It's not secure. That's another myth that I'm pointing with. So airbag, role-based access control, it's all there. When you create your first application, you need to define that. Otherwise, well, me as an advanced developer in local platforms, I would say, well, if you haven't enabled advanced role-based access control, then this application is a no-go, right? So you immediately enable that, and then that's where well, I want to say the magic happens, but this is where the applications get really interesting. Single sign-on, LDAP integrations. This is all standard components that come with startup applications. So the modules are there. You just need to configure them with your AD, and it works. All data, it's being audited with local platforms, and you have access to that. You can configure your own retention policies. It's all there at your fingertips. You don't need to write an extra piece of code to make sure that this functionality is going to work. If you're talking about the vulnerabilities, because producers or manufacturers of local platforms, they want you to use that, they maintain it. So you don't need to worry about adjusting the code because there is a new vulnerability and you need to fight it. The manufacturer of your local platform will do it for you. And again, certification of the platforms. Local platforms are used also by governmental agencies. I'll have a slide on that later on. So for me, that means that those platforms can be trusted. And debugging, as Rafael showed you in the presentation, debugging in Nathan. Some things were green, some things were red. Here you have another interface for debugging. This is actually coming from Mendix. That's a local platform I talk about later. And it really lets you set up your breakpoints with your runtime. You can see what are the variables, how they change, where are you in the process, or within your application. So it's almost like using GDB, but better. I used to work with GDB in the past. I did not like it very much, but with visual component on top, I think it's very much easier to do. All right, let's go to reality. Low code is not no code. So low code is easily extendable with your customizations that no code platforms will face. So when you hit a ceiling with standard components, for example, from the marketplace, you can always go and extend it. So what are the components that you work with no-code platforms? So data. You probably know that from classical development. So you create your structures, even though it's graphical, they still correspond to underlying database tables in your relational database. UI components. So you drag and drop pieces of widgets, graphical widgets, on canvas, called UI widgets, but you can style them with CSS. You can also write your own custom widgets. Maybe not with C++, although some platforms probably will allow it. But you can also use some front-end languages to create new widgets. Logic. The logic that you build by dragging and dropping certain actions and create this sometimes massive business flows or workflows, they are also translated into real code. Integrations. So if there are non-standard integrations, and I've heard Nathan has around 1,000, well, some platforms have more. And if that's not enough, you can always create your own integration. And not only by using standard HTTP connector, but you can write your really custom tooling for integrating with custom APIs. For example, leveraging your favorite Java libraries, for example, although Java is not C++. Speed and integration. This will increase your time to value. So it's really fast to create an application and deliver first iteration to the audience for verification. And it's not months that you do, but sometimes weeks, sometimes even hours. You can reuse a lot of components that you even build custom, or you just leverage from the marketplace as standard components, because a lot of local platforms have very extensive marketplace and market ecosystem, or developers ecosystem, but we'll talk about it later. Rapid iterations, so you can almost do live coding when you have a business analyst on your site, and you can really do fast iterations and create and see or show rather how those changes affect the application, what and how easily it can be aligned with what the business analyst wants the application to do. You've got faster feedback, hence you can also work with better UX, and this is really important in current times. So when it comes down to testing and governance, that's also a part of local platforms, as usually it comes as a built-in functionality. Security and scale. Well, I already mentioned that Airbag is there by default. Audit, I also mentioned about it earlier, and rollback. So the transactional principles are also atomicity is also there. Integrated monitoring and metrics export, meaning that when you run an application on a local platform, you automatically are equipped with tooling that allow you to monitor and verify some of the key performance indicators of the application. Encryption in transit and rest, I think that's non-negotiable in current times. And scaling. Why? Because of the tooling that that application is running on. All that makes delivery of low-code applications 5 to 7 times faster than in traditional coding. Some producers also claim that it's 10 times faster. I would agree with that, as long as you want to create applications that are, let's say, they don't have custom UI, they don't work with really custom integrations, but with some standard ones. I would agree that you can do it also 10 times faster than the usual coding, and we've had hackathons that prove that to be working. Automation, that it's included in developers' IDE, they will handle a lot of boilerplates for you. So they will create components out of something that you've already created, and they will build on top of that, for example, pages or some business logic, also with help of UI. With that, developers can focus more on how that application is architected, and they don't need to worry about some repetitive tasks, because a lot of things that they work on can be reused either in the same application or in the next application that they work with. Visual debuggers. I've shown you one a couple of minutes ago, so I'm not sure how many of you really focused on that. If you liked it or not, I think that's already an opinion. But I really love working with visual debuggers instead of text-based. But low-code is not always the silver bullet or golden bullet. It's not great for real-time embedded systems. It's not good for real-time or, let's say, high-frequency trading applications in banking. Low latency signal processing, probably not the best platform to work on. And if you want to replace commercial off-the-shelf solutions that are working, probably also not recommended. But what it's good for? It's good for enterprise process applications. So a lot of processes that happen within an enterprise, be it HR, be it accounting, any other process, but also core processes within a company. Though the local platforms are also great for creating the applications with. Coming back to our next point on agenda, the modern toolkit for developers. Almost all low-code platforms support software delivery lifecycle, the full delivery lifecycle. So they support you with managing the requirements, managing portfolio of your applications, either built or still in conceptual phase. They let you then build the applications, design applications. They let you test with tools that are already available within the platforms. Then they let you deploy and monitor the applications. They gather feedback for you, because a lot of them has the feedback functionality built in. So you don't need to create a separate application just for gathering feedback. And that feedback can be then fed back into the loop where you manage either requirements or new portfolio, because from a number of feedback, you can also, say, prepare a picture of another application that is needed within your ecosystem. Toolchain integration. Has anyone worked with Git before? Hey, good news for you. Git is also part of a lot of low-code platforms. So it's nothing new for you. Jenkins. So you see, it's not that scary, right? Those tools are there for you to help you. Grafana for monitoring. Perfect, right? So you know the game. Jira. Hey, that's one of the corporate tools that Rafał mentioned, right? Cool. Docker. So is it scary? Did you know that those tools are already there in low-code platforms? How many of you have known that it's there already? Cool. So majority of you did not know. So at least you've learned something new. Design patterns. That's something also that is might be a part of software delivery. Low-code platforms. It's there, but sometimes in several cases it's just abstracted. You can create a lot of concepts with low-code platforms, but a lot of that is just taken care by you, by the low-code platforms company, manufacturing company. So you can focus on real or on delivering the real value rather than work with some complex algorithms just to make sure that this is built in the right way. So it takes a lot of burden from the developer. AI-assisted development. Why? Because AI is now in hype. How many of you work with AI-assisted development? On a daily basis? Good. Can you imagine working without that? All right, so half of them, half of the audience do, half of the audience does not. I think it's good, right? So 50-50, it's fair. So AI-assisted development is also there in local platforms. It can do a lot of things for you. So it can suggest a logic. It can also build logic for you. It detects security vulnerabilities. So it basically guards whether your application is following the right patterns, right? Each platform's got its own specificity and has different set of best practices. And each platform's got this AI-assisted development implemented in a different way. But they will support you with making sure that the application is secure and consistent. A lot of AI assistants also explain what is certain piece of functionality doing. Imagine that you're taking over an application, right? And you've got a really complex business flow, and you want to know briefly what it does. So you ask a question, hey, what is this business flow doing, right? And our AI assistant will just explain it to you in plain English. I think that's a cool feature. And I know also that, for example, ChatGPT can do the same when you upload a C++ file. Right? It will analyze this and will give you an answer. If it's accurate, I don't know, I'm not at the moment C++ developer. And it also accelerates the learning curve for new developers. Local platform, you need to learn them, but it doesn't take so much time as learning to code in a classical way. I think I've spent around 3 years learning how to code. And I'm not even, I know I'm not, let's say, my code when I write in C++, it's not optimal. But I know that with low code, you don't need to worry about that because you can worry about making sure that you deliver something that is of business value, right? And the implementation, you leave to professionals who provide you with the platform. And Agentic AI. This is also something that is really extending the usage of local platforms. And I believe it's also going to be a trend in the future. So I do agree with Rafał, what he mentioned in the previous talk. And we'll also come to that in a second. So you can easily create agentic AI solutions with low code. The MCP server or MCP client, this usually now comes as a native functionality in low code platforms. So you can create an application that's got both already available to you at your fingertip. You just need to make sure to configure it properly so that it provides proper functionality and provides with the proper data. But everything, the whole mechanism is there for you to use. It integrates with LLMs easily and you can also replace the LLMs with plug and play approach. So something that was already mentioned. And according to Gartner, 80% of enterprises plan to adopt low-code as their technology to integrate agentic AI. So it is also something to worth remembering. Now, when it comes down to human, there are those citizen developers, right? Who hates them? But who loves them? Do you love them? Do they do a lot of harm? Well, probably in low-code, or not low-code, but classical development, they will not know what they do, right? As with the new vibe coding approach, they produce tons of lines of code and they claim themselves as developers, right? Well, citizen developers with low-code, that's something, that's another level, I would say. With the abstracted components that they can use, it's really easy to create applications for them, right? So you can imagine that domain experts now can build applications, but not by writing code, not by iterating in a while loop or for. Now they just drag and drop a piece of functionality that will say, hey, now I'm iterating through a loop. Cool. Now within that loop, I want this attribute to change to this and that. Cool, done. And now I want this decision block to check whether it's true or false. Hey, you drag and drop this to your business process creation canvas, and it works, right? Can you imagine citizen developer doing this in C++? I don't. So professionals will still take over those applications. Why? Because you, as professional developers, know how to optimize it, how to create extra integrations, how JSON works, or XML, or SOAP. So it's up to still professional developers to make sure that those applications are, let's say, production ready, right? But citizen developers can help you understand the business. And they are the so-called those fusion teams, right? So where experts, so IT experts, domain experts and IT engineers work together to create better solutions faster, right? They share a single platform because it's easier, right? A business expert can create a business flow according to his best knowledge. Then an IT professional can open that business flow and they can optimize it because they know that the database calls within a loop for a single element. This might be optimized somehow. This database structure, well, we can optimize it. We can add some indexes. It will speed up the search in certain processes. So this is still the professional IT knowledge that is needed here. So it's more of a collaboration than substitution. So professional developers will never disappear, right? Somebody will always have to create this the code. Everybody will there will always be a need for professional IT to optimize certain aspects of applications. Low code versus vibe code. Vibe code used to be a trend, I would say. I think it's less of a such at the moment. At least I don't see so many posts on LinkedIn recently. But how does it differ? Well, when you vibe code, you just explain what you need to do or what you expect an algorithm or AI to create for you, and then AI creates it for you, right? You don't know nothing about what's happening in the background, except that there are thousands of lines of code and it's really hard to debug. With low code, though the code is abstracted, and it's been, I hope so, been created with with people. Maybe some part with AI, as you already told me that 50% of you, around 50% of you can imagine working without AI, but majority of you work with AI every day when you code. That means something. So AI will interpret what you want and will generate certain structures in vibe coding. With low code, you still need to create what you want, but you don't create those components, let's say on the fly, but you create applications from already standardized chunks. And you still need architects to make sure that the application that you create in low code is written in a good way. So for example, publishing access keys to your database to front-end client, probably not a great idea, right? All right, the code never really disappears. Can anyone remember who said that and when? I will give you a clue. It was last year, also during Code Dive. Right, for those of you who don't remember, there was a presentation by Jarosław Nitecki, and I want to give him a big round of applause here. Thank you very much for that presentation. Jarosław is also with us. He had a really nice performance last year when he was giving away T-shirts. And guess what? I'm not giving away T-shirts this year. And I don't think Jarosław is either. But what he said, that we're not going to lose craft. So we're just going to be even more effective. The developers are here to stay, right? So they're not being replaced. But their roles will evolve, right? But who remembers what's certain in life? Deaths and taxes, right? But also changes, I think, something that is inevitable in life. And with that approach, we don't need to. We can move from mastering the syntax to mastering what we want to deliver, right? So system design, or architecture, or orchestration of that solution. All right, and so what's there on the market and what the future might be? Again, I like referencing Gartner because I think it's pretty comprehensive. Although Gartner doesn't talk about all the low-code platforms in the world because there are thousands. We also have our Polish low-code platforms. But Gartner, in their Magic Quadrant, they focus on enterprise-grade low-code platforms. And there are quite a few. And I'll list some of them in a minute. So low-code is now not only a departmental thing, but it's enterprise-wide, meaning that applications built with low-code platforms, they comply with all the enterprise standards that they are in end enterprise. I've implemented a lot of platforms in a lot of enterprises, and believe me, there are little requirements that are not, let's say, met. There are really a few that will say, well, no, that platform is not suitable. Okay, maybe this one is not suitable for you, but there is another one that is more suitable for you, and we'll move that towards that one. Another prediction, by 2028, with the Agentic AI approach via low-code, you've heard that before. I hope we'll meet here in 3 years' time, and those will come true, or even better, maybe not 80%, maybe 90%. Who knows? AI-augmented applications, agentic workflows, that's something that's going to be there, right, really, really soon. Leaders, 2025, Mendix, Microsoft, Power Platform. You might be familiar with that. I think in Nokia it's there, available. OutSystem, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Appian. Has anyone heard at least one name from that list? So we know local platforms. Maybe you didn't know that those are called local platforms, but they are there and they are really doing a lot of good in IT. So low code now is AI-driven and full stack. So AI is also available as something that is complementary to low code in the current days. So you can create low code applications using AI assistants. Global adoption across industries, finance. A lot of banks are using that. I work within 2 different banks, and they are using low-code platforms. And sometimes not even 1, sometimes 2, and sometimes even 3, because they use different platforms to do different stuff. Manufacturing. Again, I've worked with multiple companies that have implemented low-code platforms for even supporting core manufacturing processes, even visual inspection with low-code platforms. So you can imagine that it's not something that is small. Energy. Again, even Polish companies are using low-code platforms to support their field engineers. For example, they build mobile applications that support visual inspection of certain elements, while engineers are doing an inspection of installations. Healthcare, same thing. Public sector, it's available in defense industry, so in military applications, that's also low-code are really used there. And telecoms. A lot of companies are using that to solve their everyday problems. One note here, you might notice that those industries are, well, why are they using that? Because they are not, let's say, not small, right? A manufacturing company that uses low-code platform is probably a big company. Why? Because low-code platforms sometimes are not cheap. It's not like you build a C++ application and run it on any server, and it's really, well, low cost. With platforms, you need to, let's say, take into account also the cost factor. But that's something for another talk, I would say. Enterprise usage of low code is not niche anymore. So more and more enterprises are using low code. There are a couple of names of companies that use that. But I was asked not to do a lot of marketing or specifically for certain platforms. So if you want, I really suggest or recommend you to go and see which enterprises or which companies in the world are already using low-code platforms to solve their mission-critical applications. Because there are a lot. And sometimes you will find the same brand using 2 different low-code platforms. And the producers of those low-code platforms have those, let's say, use cases published and available to the public. So you don't need to trust me for that, right? Just go ahead and check if I was right. So I'll also give you such a question for you to think for a while. If low code can run at that scale, what can you imagine you could build with that? When I get a question, what can you build with low code, I would say you can build almost anything. It just comes down to sometimes to a cost. All right, and my recommendations for you to your next step. Don't worry, you will not be replaced. Things that you do will just be extended. Right, you will be able to do more things with the tools that are made available for you. You will spend less time wiring or writing code, and you can focus more on designing good solutions. Good meaning good enough for your customers to be presented to your customers. And you don't need to worry about syntax because, well, a group of developers has already done it for you. Although you might be the group of developers who did it, but if you've done it, then you've served developers who will be using your product if you ever create one. And I also want to give you another quote: real developers ship ideas, right? So when you have an idea, you don't want to create a perfect code behind it. You want to create an idea that works, right? And you can also do it fast with low code. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bartosz. Do you have some questions? If yes, please raise your hands or hand. Perfect. If you are shy, you can also ask questions in our application. I highly recommend it.
and I will answer them. I hope I can.
Hi, hello.
Yes.
Thanks for the great presentation. I have a question related to maybe some history. So, some times ago, like 20 years ago maybe, we were promised that with UML diagrams and, for example, Rhapsody, we could stop writing code and just draw UML diagrams and that's it. What went different this time? Because we can agree that there was no such revolution 20 years ago. There was no just drawing pictures instead of writing code.
I don't know who promised that. I don't know so much of history. But I do know that UML are still there, right? A lot of us are using UML or used to use. UML can be used to, let's say, feed AI assistants to create applications for you now. So you can leverage what you've already built or you worked on in the past to create a new breed of applications with low code. I'm not saying that low code as specific platform is going to be here in 20 plus years from now. I'm sure they will evolve, but the concept of low code, I think it's going to stay here for a while, right? So this new approach, I think I think it will stick. Thanks.
I have a very loosely formulated question.
Okay.
That probably doesn't have an answer, but I'm curious about your take on. In my experience, when using a low-code platforms, it works well. It works fantastic, and it's very rapid. If you're doing very schematic, standard stuff, but if you're trying to like integrate with like weird stuff, you're trying to really go out of the box. Then I had a choice. I could like create those components in like NodeMotion or like anything like that by myself, and then it's no low code anymore. Or I can just search, and most probably there is someone somewhere that maybe shared such an functionality like on GitHub, and obviously he may not like follow all the OWASP rules. Maybe it's like it's not gonna be maintained or anything like that. What is your like personal preference? Do you have a preference to like ditch the low code approach and create these functionalities yourself, or you rather like try to keep it low code by using those dependencies and by thus creating this like under the water level of complexity?
That's a good question. I'm in two minds about that. So when I create applications for enterprises, I would go with the standard components. So I would not go, or I would not recommend going with something that I found online, right? If it's not maintained, I wouldn't even touch it. I will go with standard components that are available because it allows me to have my head clear, meaning that I know that it's been tested and it's working, proven, end of the deal. But if there is some exotic things, I would search what's available there, but I would try to analyze it anyway, right? If it's done to or with the right quality, that I have a gate. If it's good quality, I accept it. If it's not good quality, then we either fine-tune it or we create something from scratch, right? So I think following that order would be the optimal for, or at least this is my take on what to do with such situations.
So in other words, like low code to a point.
Sorry?
Low code to a point.
Yes, yeah, but low code, the beauty of low code is that it would allow you to create those custom components for you, as an opposite of no code, where those custom components are very limited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank Thank you very much once again, Bartek. It was a really enjoyable lecture. You can sit down because I still have some announcements to
All right.
make. So
Thank you very much, guys.
huge applause once again.